The cold metal of the handcuffs bit into my wrists as I crouched in the dark corner of the abandoned warehouse. My heart pounded in my chest, my breath coming in shallow, ragged gasps. Outside, the muffled sound of footsteps approached, each step echoing ominously through the empty space. I glanced at the door, my only chance for freedom, and knew I had only moments to act. I had to escape. Against all odds, I had to survive. 2 days earlier. Life was normal, routine even. I had a 9-to-5 job as a graphic designer, a small but cozy apartment, and a circle of friends I trusted. That Tuesday evening, after a long day at work, I decided to treat myself to dinner at my favorite cafe. It was there, as I sat by the window sipping my coffee, that I first noticed him. He was tall, with dark hair and piercing blue eyes, sitting a few tables away. Something about him felt off, but I brushed it aside, attributing my unease to an overactive imagination. As I left the cafe, I had the nagging feeling of being watched. I quickened my pace, the streetlights casting long shadows that seemed to follow me. I reached my car and drove home, trying to shake the eerie feeling that lingered. That night, sleep was elusive. Every creak of the apartment seemed amplified, every shadow sinister. I woke abruptly around 3 a.m., my heart racing. I heard a faint noise, like a door closing. I lived alone. Panic surged through me as I quietly slipped out of bed and grabbed my phone. I dialed 911, but before I could press send, a hand clamped over my mouth, and I was dragged back into the darkness. The first day I awoke to the stench of mildew and rust. My head throbbed and my vision blurred. As I came to, I realized I was bound to a chair, the cold metal of the handcuffs digging into my skin. The room was dimly lit, with a single bulb swinging from the ceiling. My captor, the man from the cafe, stood before me, a twisted smile on his face. "You're awake," he said, his voice eerily calm. "I've been watching you for a while, Emily. You're perfect." My stomach churned as he spoke. I tried to scream, but the gag in my mouth muffled my cries. He approached, his fingers tracing the outline of my face. "Don't worry," he whispered. "This will be over soon." Over the next few hours, he left me alone, only returning occasionally to bring me water and bread. My mind raced with thoughts of escape, but the handcuffs and the heavy door, locked from the outside, left little hope. I observed my surroundings, searching for anything I could use to free myself. The warehouse was large, filled with old, rusted machinery and stacks of wooden crates. In one corner, I noticed a broken window, its jagged edges glinting in the dim light. It was a long shot, but it was my only chance. The second night, darkness fell, and with it, my captor returned. He was different this time, more agitated, his eyes darting around nervously. "We're moving," he said abruptly, yanking me to my feet. My heart raced as he dragged me toward the door. I knew this was my only chance. As we exited the room, I stumbled, pretending to trip. He cursed and bent down to lift me. Seizing the moment, I kicked out with all my strength, striking him in the knee. He cried out, loosening his grip just enough for me to break free. I sprinted toward the broken window, adrenaline fueling my every step. Behind me, I heard him recover and give chase. Back to the present. I reached the window, my hands fumbling with the rusted latch. The footsteps grew louder, closer. I pushed the window open, ignoring the shards of glass that cut into my palms. I hoisted myself up, squeezing through the narrow opening just as my captor reached me. His hand grasped my ankle, and I kicked wildly, catching him in the face. He let go with a yell, and I tumbled out of the window, landing hard on the cold, damp ground outside. I scrambled to my feet and ran, the pain in my hands and knees barely registering. The warehouse was in an isolated part of town, surrounded by dense woods. I plunged into the forest, branches whipping against my face, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I could hear him behind me, crashing through the underbrush, his angry shouts echoing through the night. I pushed myself harder, my legs burning with effort. The trees thinned out, and I saw the glimmer of a road up ahead. Desperation gave me one final burst of speed. I broke through the tree line and stumbled onto the road, waving my arms frantically as a pair of headlights approached. The car screeched to a halt, and the driver, a middle-aged woman, jumped out, her eyes wide with shock. "Help me!" I gasped. "Please, he's coming!" She didn't hesitate, pulling me into the car and speeding off just as my captor emerged from the forest, a look of fury on his face. Relief washed over me as I slumped in the passenger seat, my breath finally evening out. For a brief moment, I thought I was safe. I thought I had escaped, but the nightmare was far from over. The woman drove in silence, the road ahead illuminated by the car's headlights. As the minutes passed, I began to notice the route felt familiar. My heart sank as I realized we were heading back towards the warehouse. "No, this can't be happening," I thought. "Where are you taking me?" I asked, my voice trembling. She glanced at me, her expression unreadable. "It's okay, dear. We're just going somewhere safe." Panic gripped me. "No, you don't understand. He's back there. We need to go to the police." Her lips curled into a chilling smile. "Oh, I understand perfectly." My blood ran cold as the car turned onto the dirt road leading back to the warehouse. I glanced around, desperate for a way out, but the doors were locked and she was driving too fast for me to safely jump out. As we neared the warehouse, I saw my captor standing outside, his face illuminated by the car's headlights. He smirked as we pulled up, the woman stepping out and opening my door. No, I thought. I escaped one trap, only to fall into another. She roughly pulled me out of the car, dragging me towards him. "She put up quite a fight," she said, her voice now devoid of any kindness. He laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "Emily, meet my partner, Susan. She's very good at what she does." I struggled against her grip, but it was no use. They pushed me back into the warehouse, the door slamming shut behind me. The hope that had surged through me moments before was crushed, replaced by a deep, suffocating despair. My mind raced with thoughts of escape, but the reality was bleak. I was back where I started, and now they both watched me, making sure there would be no second chance. In the dim light of the warehouse, I saw the lengths they had gone to, the meticulous planning that had led to my capture. They had been watching me, studying my routines, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Days turned into nights as I fought to keep my spirit alive. They underestimated my will to survive, my determination to find a way out. I listened carefully, noting their movements, their conversations. I waited for the slightest lapse in their vigilance. I had to believe there was a way out. Against all odds, I had to survive. And then, one night, my opportunity came. They had grown complacent, confident that I was broken. As they argued over some trivial matter, I noticed the keyring on the table just within reach. Summoning every ounce of strength, I lunged, grabbing the keys and unlocking my handcuffs. I sprinted towards the door, my captor's shouts echoing behind me. This time, I wouldn't let them catch me. I burst through the door and into the forest once more, the cold night air filling my lungs. I ran blindly through the trees, my only thought to keep moving. The forest was dense, but I kept the road in sight, too afraid to get into another car. I could hear the woman's car driving up and down the road, and the man crashing through the forest behind me. I ran for days, the road always in my periphery, my legs burning, my lungs on fire. I didn't know where I was going, only that I had to keep moving. I barely slept, taking only brief rests when I felt I had a moment's safety. The forest became a labyrinth, my sense of time and direction blurring. Hunger and exhaustion gnawed at me, but the fear kept me going. Finally, I saw lights through the trees, brighter than the ones lining the road. I stumbled forward, breaking through the tree line and finding myself at the edge of a small town. My strength was waning, but the sight of buildings gave me a final burst of energy. I pushed on, my vision tunneling, my legs feeling like lead. I reached the town square, and there, illuminated by a street lamp, was the police station. I collapsed on the steps, my body finally giving out. Against all odds, I had made it. My nightmare was finally over.